Good morning, you all. Oh, goodness. So, I am really, really excited to be with you here this morning. And it has been a minute since we have done the Silence Your Inner Critic workshop. And this is one of my favorite topics, is silencing your inner critic. And the reason why it is such a um, something near and dear to my heart is my own healing journey of healing my inner critic voice and healing my perfectionism, healing my people pleaser, healing my imposter syndrome. And I'm here to tell you that it is a lifelong journey. And the things that we teach you and getting to the root cause of your inner critic, we do work with you in the W.I.S.E method to do this. So just know that there is definitely an acceleration that will happen in our program. And at the same time, healing is a lifelong journey. And so for me personally, one of my biggest patterns in the past with my inner critic was actually the perfectionist. So I am a recovering perfectionist. And I definitely feel like that area I have been able to heal a majority of it. I would say 90%. Same thing with the imposter syndrome. Same thing with the taskmaster, which is a workaholic. I also feel like I don't compare myself the way I had in the past. And this is a huge one for women. And so the perfectionist, the imposter syndrome, the workaholic, and the comparisonitis, those are kind of the top areas that I have seen with women, and especially with professional women or entrepreneurs. And so for me, the way that I look at that with comparison is that I am 100% unique and I'm beautifully and wonderfully made. And if we start to look at ourselves that way, that there's only one of us on the entire planet, then we can really tune into our strengths, our gifts, and we can focus on tuning into ourself and healing ourselves so that we can live the highest version of ourselves. So as you all join, let me know that you're here. Put that in the comments. As you join, let us know you are here and where you're joining from. Same thing with the replay. You watch the replay and let us know what inner critic you struggle with the most. And I would love to know if perfectionism is one of them. Okay, so as you join, again, let us know that you're here so that we know who it is that's joining. And you can put that in the comments. Okay. So the other piece that I wanted to mention, and then I'm going to get into the meditation and the little mini lesson that we're going to do, is the people pleaser. Now, I kind of consider the people pleaser and the good girl syndrome as part of perfectionism. And I definitely feel like the people pleaser for me has definitely been the hardest pattern that I've had to heal. And I definitely feel like my perfectionism, right, around the way I talk to myself, the way I see myself in the mirror, the way I do my life's work, the way I interact with other people, that definitely I feel like has been significantly healed And one of my favorite sayings with that is imperfect action is better than perfect procrastination. Um, I feel like whether it's in my relationships, whether it's as a mom, whether it's in my business, that I have been able to really start to see myself as perfectly imperfect, and that knowing that perfectionism is an illusion. But the people pleaser piece is definitely an area that I continue to work on a daily basis. And also, um, that is a trauma response. Perfectionism and all the inner critics, along with people pleasing, are all trauma responses. And so growing up, I was a people pleaser and I was the peacemaker oftentimes in my house growing up. And so that is something that's been deeply ingrained in me as far as one, working harder to earn love or to earn acceptance or approval, and also um, wanting others to like me and really having a hard time with conflict avoidance. And I'm really happy to say that I have been able to heal conflict avoidance a majority of the time, and that I am now able to voice my opinion and speak my truth. But I do it with wisdom and discernment as far as I choose the times that it makes sense for me to speak up, right? I don't always need to use my voice. I don't like to argue. I like to be in a state of peace. So I have to balance that between being in that sweet spot, is a good word, of being in that state of peace, what I call a legacy of peace, calm in the chaos, practicing the peace pause. Okay, so I went on a little bit of a tangent, y'all, but I wanted to share that. Okay, so I'm going to get into the meditation. And so if you do want to be seated for this, if possible, you can be seated on your couch. If you're sitting at your desk at your computer, you're watching this in the replay, but you definitely do not want to be driving when we do the meditation part, or you can just listen. But normally I would recommend students to close their eyes or to have a soft gaze with meditation. If you don't feel comfortable closing your eyes, if you're trauma sensitive, that's totally fine. But I'm going to go ahead and take you through a meditation around releasing perfectionism. And so if you want to go ahead, and if you're okay with just closing your eyes, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So again, I want to welcome you to the Silence Your Inner Critic workshop. And I want you to not judge your meditation. Okay, so coming into this, many of us have some level of perfectionism, right? Some of us are like uber perfectionists, like myself. When you look on a scale of 1 to 10 of your perfectionism, I was off the chart. Okay, I also was a control freak, and I can call myself that. I know now why I had the control issues is because of my trauma, that I was trying to control my situations. I'm happy to say I no longer do that either. I know that I can control myself. I can't control any other circumstances or those around me or the reactions or the way people treat me. I can only control myself. Okay, so again, I want you to let go of any judgment. I want you to let go of the meditation needing to be a certain way. All right, so find a comfortable seat. You want to make sure that your spine is straight but relaxed. You can have your feet shoulder width apart if you're sitting on a chair, and you want to gently roll back your shoulders and just relax. If you like to sit crisscross applesauce and you have your legs crossed, that's fine too. So again, you find what works for you in your practice and what's comfortable in your body. And so we're going to just do some deep breaths in the diaphragm, right? So kind of in that belly button region and above where the rib cage is. we want to imagine like a balloon expanding and contracting and just getting a deeper breath. Because what happens for a majority of us throughout the day when we don't have body breath awareness, we are having very shallow breath that is within just like the chest and shoulders. And so we're actually never getting into relaxation response. We are running around a majority of the time in fight or flight, and our nervous system is in fight or flight. And so that's really not good for your mental health or your physical health or your spiritual health for that matter. Okay, so we're going to take about 15 breaths, but I want you to know that if you were doing this on your own, you'd want to take a little bit more time to get some deep breaths before you go into meditation. Okay. So again, we're going to imagine the belly button kind of coming out and expanding and then coming back in. So when we are inhaling, we're actually pushing the stomach out. And as we're exhaling, the belly button's coming back in. You also, if you are at home, you can lay down and do this as well. You can actually lay down on your back and do this as well. So we're only going to take about 15 breaths. So again, if you were doing this on your own, I would say do this for a minute or two. Okay. All right. So again, gently closing the eyes. We're going to take about 15 breaths. So inhale by expanding the belly button. Exhale, release, bring it in. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Just know you might get a little lightheaded. If you do, you can stop for a minute. And then I want you to take 10 breaths on your own. When you're ready, just continue with your meditation. And just know that, again, your breath, you're not going to perfectly breathe, just like you're not going to perfectly meditate. And if you experience any thoughts like, am I doing this wrong? Just observe that thought and let it pass. And the aim is to simply observe the moment with non-judgmental attitude. So just know that the thoughts might come up when you start to notice this is, silly, this isn't doing anything, I'm just sitting here breathing. It's your ego's way of resisting transformation and resisting change and just staying stuck where you are. So just know that that's normal. It's going to push back on your breath. It's going to push back on your meditation. Now remember one thing, that maybe you did not perfectly, that you might have done differently. And I want you to visualize this scenario happening in your mind's eye. And if thoughts come to mind, again, let them come and let them go without resisting them or pushing them away. And say to yourself, I accept the things that I may not do perfectly. I'm human and I'm okay just the way I am. And I'm always doing the best that I can at that time with the skills that I have. Now imagine another person saying to you, I accept you just the way you are. I accept you just the way you are. I accept you just the way you are. Now I want you to imagine the future, your future self, right? How does your future self treat you? And telling yourself, I accept you just the way you are. Again, I accept you just the way you are. And now imagine there's another person with maybe a similar behavior as you. Maybe it's perfectionism. And you imagine saying to them, I accept you just the way you are. Again, I accept you just the way you are. I accept you just the way you are. Perfectly imperfect, without judgment. And just reminding ourselves that it is healthy to strive for excellence. And some of us in the group may be ambitious. We're proud of our high standards, right? And I remember me saying in the past, I don't do anything less than 150%. But oftentimes, our 80% is other people's 100% when you're a super perfectionist. And so after years of beating myself up for any mishap, from the large to completely insignificant, I learned that it's also healthy and normal to make mistakes and allow myself to make mistakes. And in some ways, there's really not mistakes, because if we learn from everything, right? If we look at things as a lesson, there's really not necessarily making a mistake, if that makes any sense. As long as we can learn from it to not do it again. And so just starting to be aware, as if you are a perfectionist, I call myself a recovering perfectionist, and still struggling with relapsing, and that my perfectionist tendencies can surface in different areas of our lives, right? So with that, I want you to take 3 deep breaths. We're going to inhale and exhale. Go ahead and inhale. Exhale, release. Inhale. Exhale, release. Inhale. Exhale, release. Beautiful. And open your eyes. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the pitfalls of perfectionism. So you don't usually finish projects because you're so caught up about finishing them perfectly. So better done than not at all. If you wait for it to be perfect, nothing will ever get done. So this is, again, that imperfect action versus perfect procrastination. You beat yourself up at the smallest slip. You're your worst inner critic. So what if you found a typo in your email, or an extra formula in your Excel spreadsheet, or the wrong font in the presentation? Is it worth it to spend the afternoon practicing self-hatred tactics to ensure that you won't do it again, right? We want to speak gently and kindly and gracefully and with self-compassion and non-judgment to ourselves. So this is mindful self-compassion. And I remember the first time of learning about mindful self-compassion and learning about being gentle with myself, that thought had never entered my mind for a majority of my life, because instead I would constantly beat myself up within my own mind. And I remember one of the best analogies, one of my students, Lindsay, the way she described it was, if someone could see the way I talk to myself in my own mind on my physical body, that I would have bruises all over my body. And I can definitely relate to that. And unfortunately, a lot of people, a lot of women, a majority of women and men can relate to this. And oftentimes our inner critic voice is off the charts. But the beautiful thing that I want to make sure I mention here is that you can choose to change those thought patterns, and you can take control of your inner critic voice. The last pitfall of perfectionism is that you are constantly disappointed. So this one goes for yourself and others. If you find yourself putting these high standards on others, you're going to constantly be frustrated and disappointed when they don't live up to your unrealistic expectations. So this can lead to a steady mood of agitation, letdown, and discouragement. And this can also lead to difficulty in relationships at work and at home. So let me take a minute to speak to this. I remember a client of mine who, she was a mom and a professional, and she struggled with perfectionism and anxiety. And part of that anxiety and stress, the way she described it, was self-induced. And a big part of perfectionism is that we put these unrealistic expectations on ourselves, and we judge ourselves, and then we project that onto other people. And the more we learn to love and accept ourselves and be gentle with ourselves and to practice non-judgment on ourselves, the more we're able to do that with other people. And so majority of the time, when someone is putting these harsh expectations on us, it is coming from them. That means, and if someone who is hurting you, means they are very hurt themselves. And so that is a lens that we can choose to see things through. And I'm not sitting here saying that it's an easy thing to do, and it's not something that happens overnight. But we can choose to see that person with compassion and through that lens. And so let me speak a little bit to expectations. This is definitely an area where I can speak from personal experience and my own transformation and healing journey, and the clients that I just worked with, like Christina that I just mentioned. She's one of our testimonials. Is as I started to put less expectations on myself, I was easier on those around me. And it definitely will affect you at work. It definitely will affect you, professionally if you own your own business. But I would say the most impactful area would be as a parent or as a spouse or in a relationship or in friendships. Because if you are putting those harsh expectations, especially on a husband or a potential future partner, someone that you're dating, that is not going to go well, okay? And oftentimes they don't have any idea, and you don't have any idea actually, because most of the time we are running from our unconscious, subconscious minds. And so we're putting those harsh expectations on someone from our own unhealed trauma, okay? And so, again, I'm here to tell you, we also help with healing generational trauma. Okay, let me see. Anybody? Okay. All right, so going back to talking a little bit about perfectionism, I want you to think about meditation as medicine. And again, the goal with mindfulness practices is having awareness in the present moment without judgment. And as perfectionists, we are constantly conditioned to judge ourselves and others, anything and everything. So we want to be able to let go of judgment is our biggest opportunity you have to release your perfectionist. And meditation is a great place to begin having peace with perfectionism. So the first thing to accept here is that meditation will never be perfect. And no matter how hard we try, there is no such thing as a perfect meditation. So if you find yourself searching for it, you will soon be disappointed, and it's going to be much easier and recommended route to accept that as your starting point. So in other words, you don't have any expectations going into meditation, and every meditation is going to be different. And so it is an opportunity to let go of control, to let go in general, so that you can be in this state of peace. Okay? And again, it's not easy for perfectionists to break out of this habit of self-judgment, and it's going to show up during meditation as well. All right? Okay, so some red flags that are going to signal here that you might be a perfectionist. And a lot of this comes from trauma, unresolved trauma in childhood or generational trauma. It's a lot based in fear as well. So the perfectionist can be seen as this positive aspect that improves the likelihood of our success. And it can also take you down this rabbit hole of self-defeating thoughts and behaviors. So it's a pattern of behavior that was formed in early life as a survival technique to a trauma response, physical, emotional, or psychological, to alleviate painful emotions. So you may have been valued by your parents, your teachers, or other authority figures for your achievements or what you accomplished, which caused your sense of value on others' approval. So for whatever purpose it served in your childhood, the belief that you could stop bad things from happening if you tried harder, if you were better, or you were perfect. And this allowed you to keep whatever atmosphere of security in your world, even though it wasn't real. So this belief comes with a hefty price tag, your self-esteem and your sense of self-worth. So let me repeat this again, you all, because this is my childhood, and I think a lot of people, well, I know a lot of people relate to this, but they're not consciously aware of it yet. So I hope that you hear me when I say this, that the belief that you could stop bad things from happening if you tried harder, you were better or perfect. And so this shows up in our romantic relationships big time, because we're like, well, if I just try harder, maybe that person will accept me or approve of me. If I just am I better, right? If I'm prettier, if I'm smarter, if I'm funnier, whatever the thing is, then that person's going to love me. So you're actually chasing the approval of someone else, and you're recreating your childhood, um, whether that was with your mom or your dad or both, that you weren't getting that approval. Okay. So the fears of the perfectionist is the fear of being seen for who you really are. Like if somebody really gets to know me, if I'm vulnerable, they're not going to like me. The fear of making mistakes, the fear of being accepted or liked, the fear of failure, the fear of being judged or criticized, and the fear of disapproval. So the beautiful thing is again, we start to get to the root cause of our perfectionism in our W.I.S.E method program. And I want to drop this here, that if you have been wanting to explore yoga psychology, or if you are stuck right now with not just perfectionism, but it could be the inner critic voice, it could be people pleasing, it could be being a workaholic, you could just be feeling stuck, right? If you're struggling with difficult emotions, if you're struggling with anger or sadness, if you're struggling in your relationships, right? That especially if you've tried therapy and you still are having the same, you're not moving forward, right? You're still stuck in whatever these patterns are. You might be struggling with depression, anxiety, or you might be feeling burnout, overwhelmed, or stressed. So again, if you're a mom, if you are an entrepreneur, a professional, a business owner, if you're a yoga teacher, a coach, we're here to support you. All right. So if you think you have perfectionists, you may always strive for perfection. You may feel like a failure as something's not perfect. You may have difficulty finishing projects or not finishing them at all because you procrastinate regularly. You may suffer from anxiety or stress. You're unable to relax. You may have low self-worth or low self-esteem. You may not be satisfied with your success because it's not good enough. You may have a lot of black or white thinking or all or nothing thinking. You may have become depressed if you don't meet your goals, and you may become defensive with someone who provides you with constructive criticism. You may be hypersensitive. So the black and white thinking and the all or nothing thinking is very much like I'm either all in and I'm doing this 150%, or I'm not doing it at all. So the thing that we have to train ourselves to do, and part of what we teach you around changing cognitive behavioral patterns of that thought, emotion, behavior pattern, is being able to have a place of the middle path, which is what Wise Mind is. Wise Mind is actually based on psychology, and it was the inspiration for my personal healing and transformation of why I started teaching all of this. And it's an example of retraining our thought patterns to not be black or white, all or nothing, that we can be from the middle path. And we're looking at everything at a high level, if that makes any sense. So some of the affirmations that we can tell ourselves is, my best is good enough. Action is better than perfection, and I'm always learning and improving. Procrastination later. Again, imperfect action is better than perfect procrastination. We want to accept our thoughts, but don't give into them. So we don't want to give power to our thoughts. We don't want to give power to our feelings. Feelings are not facts. First time I remember in therapy, someone telling me that feelings are not facts. And we historically give way too much power to our thoughts, which is We have to learn to master our mind and not let our mind master us. Record any emotional responses that arise, so allowing yourself to welcome them fully. Last thing I'm going to say about perfectionism is it can be self-destructive, and it can be an addictive belief system that fuels this primary thought: if I look perfect and I do everything perfectly, I can avoid or minimize the painful feelings of blame, judgment, and shame. This comes from Brené Brown, and perfectionism is an unattainable goal. It's more about perception than internal motivation, and there is no way to control perception. So no matter how much time and energy is spent trying, again, perfectionism is addictive, because when we inadvertently do experience shame, judgment, and blame, we often believe it's because we weren't perfect enough. So rather than questioning any faulty logic or thought about perfectionism, we become more entrenched in our quest to look and do everything just right. And the last one is that perfectionism actually sets us up for shame, judgment, and blame, which leads to more shame, judgment, and blame. It's my fault. I'm feeling this way because I'm not good enough. And we get in this shame cycle, right? And remember, another thing that we teach you in the W.I.S.E method is learning about emotions, and that emotion is energy in motion. And when we are in shame and guilt, we are at our lowest vibration that we can be at. So there is a reason why we do not want to stay in the emotion of shame and guilt, because it brings us down to the lowest place that we can be feeling at. Okay, so I put this affirmation here in the Hey Archna, good to see you, girl. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about how we can change our perfectionism. And we have our W.I.S.E method certification and transformation program is open still right now. The doors are open. And so if you're one of those students that have been waiting to the last minute, you can go to jennywise.com/W.I.S.E method, and you can schedule a call there. So if you are interested in a certification, if you're a yoga teacher and you're interested in a certification, I definitely can talk you through that. If you are already a yoga teacher and you're looking to further your training and you're wanting to get more into mental emotional health, we can talk more about that. If you're looking to get more into coaching and mentoring and adding another way that you support clients and students, we can chat about that. If from a business perspective, you are wanting to launch a business or you're looking to add another part of your business. So say, for example, you're a wellness or a yoga entrepreneur or a yoga teacher, and either you're launching or you're growing a business. If you're wanting to add something online, if you're looking to add retreats, we are actually offering out of the box, done for you retreats. We are also working with clients on landing pages. So if you are wanting help in that area, there's definitely ways that we can support you there. Now, if you are looking for healing and transformation to silence your inner critic voice, we have our W.I.S.E method, part of the program, that is focused on personal transformation and healing. So if you say to me, Jenny, I have zero interest in doing any kind of certification, that's totally fine, because there is a portion of the program, because teachers and mentors and coaches have to go deeper in their own healing, and we ask them to go through the foundations of yoga psychology. That piece of the program is the same whether you're getting certified or you're not, because you cannot take somebody else through something you've not gone through yourself. So whether you choose for your own healing journey as a mom, as a professional, as a business owner, to look at identifying some of these inner critics that you really need to start healing so that you can step into the purpose that you're meant to serve in this next chapter of what you look like, right? So we are always growing and evolving. We are always healing and transforming if we are doing the inner work. And as I've already said, the inner work is a lifelong process. And so the way I like to look at this is it's 6 months of healing that could take you 6 years, right? Because I'm actually taking 10 years of healing and putting it in a 6-month program. I also have a 3-month option. So just know that's another reason why we have these calls, is because we're going to talk about where you are right now, where you want to go, and what is the gap to get you there. And what are your goals? Where are the areas where you're stuck in your life, where you're struggling, that you are no longer good with? Like, so for me, where I was is I said, this isn't working for me anymore. I can no longer continue having this loud inner critic voice. I can no longer continue to beat myself up in my own mind. I can no longer continue with self-sabotage. I can no longer continue perfectionism, people-pleasing, imposter syndrome, workaholic, good girl syndrome, busy syndrome, distracting myself with all the things. And there have been surveys done that we have done with other clients that people have been spending up to $1,200 a month trying other modalities like therapy, right? So if you've already done talk therapy and you're still feeling stuck, I would highly recommend and invite you to book a call with me. You might be using other ways to distract yourself. So some people use recreational drugs, some people use alcohol, some people are constantly overbooking themselves and keeping themselves busy and distracting themselves so they don't have to feel the feelings or heal the trauma. And that was me, okay? I kept myself busy all the time so I didn't have to feel the feelings and do the things that needed to be done, the deeper work that has to happen in order for you to fully be healed and transformed. And we have to be able to step back to be able to step forward. We're also teaching you about stress resilience, emotional resilience, mind, body, breath awareness, having a meditation practice, having a mindfulness practice. We also have faith-based and non-faith-based. So if you're someone who's wanting to get more into faith-based, I can talk to you through that as well. If you're wanting to just focus on the neuroscience, the mindfulness, the yoga psychology, we have different paths. So again, without me having a conversation with you to walk you through all of that, it's really hard to have that all like on one website. Same thing with the financial investment. We have different layers of financial investment. We have customized ways where someone might be putting a deposit down, someone may not. We have payment plans as low as $100 to $150 a month, all different things in between. So that is why take 30 minutes, jump on a call with me. There is absolutely no pressure. This is not a sales call. This is an actual custom consultation that you're going to get something out of when you get off the call. I don't do these all the time. So that's another reason why, if you have been wanting to connect with me, sign up for a consultation. Okay. You can sign up today for next week, so it doesn't have to be over the weekend. Although I am doing calls, some calls today and tomorrow evening, Sunday night. So yeah, I just wanted to get on here and touch base with you guys because, again, healing your inner critic will change your entire life. Learning how to have stress resilience, learning how to have the peace pause, learning how to have a legacy of peace, going deeper into the root cause of why your inner critic is the way it is. And once you understand that, then you can heal it. And then we're going to teach you new ways of thinking, new ways of behaving. And these are going to be lifelong skills, right? This isn't just something that you practice while you're in the program. We're giving you skills for the rest of your life. And if you want to integrate that, if you have a husband, a partner, a friend, you want to join, you have somebody in your family, maybe a tween or a teenager or a daughter in college, we can give you access online to that as well. We do like family access. So you get lifetime access to the program. And you also will get me twice a month in a Facebook group. So I will be doing group mentorship. But we are in our final stages of getting people signed up next week. So if you have been waiting and thinking about this, some of you might have been thinking about the W.I.S.E method last year and never joined. And so I would encourage you and invite you, especially if you're one of those people that have been waiting and you're still feeling stuck, just a reminder that your ego and your mind and your brain wants to keep you safe. And the way to keep you safe is for you to keep doing the same thing over and over again. And it's going to resist change. It's going to push back on any kind of change. So even the things that you're hurting yourself, even the things that are not healthy, you will get resistance from the mind and the brain to just keep doing what you're doing, right? So your perfectionism, you're good. Your inner critic voice, your self-sabotage, beating yourself up, toxic thoughts, you're good. Just keep going with that, okay? So just know that it takes boldness. It takes bravery. And I'm here cheering for you guys, you all. I'm here cheering for you because I know from personal experience in my own healing journey and the women that I have mentored, the difference that this program makes. And that you are choosing to change. You are choosing to let go of the things that are no longer serving you. And that takes boldness. But don't try to make a decision based on fear, because fear will always get you. So you have to be in this state of love, in this state of faith, in a state of hope, in a state of joy. And you may not be feeling that way right now. You might be feeling stuck and overwhelmed and stressed or anxious or hopeless. So if you are in that state, again, I encourage you and invite you to set up 30 minutes with me, because everyone that I talk to gets something out of this. And I've always gotten positive feedback. At this point, I've done over 1,000 consultations, you all. So I'm here in all sincerity, and I continue to do this because I genuinely care about people. And it comes from a really soft posture of my heart. And that is how God made me. I'm a very caring, loving person, very empathetic and compassionate. And He has given me the gift of coaching, of teaching, of mentoring, of healing, the gift of mercy and empathy. And I'm here on the other side. I get you, girl. I get the self-sabotage. I get beating yourself up. I get not being gentle with yourself. I get the perfectionism. I get comparing myself to other people, other women in the past. I get imposter syndrome. I get workaholic, right? Those are just a few things. And I have struggled with depression and anxiety in the past. I have struggled with not being stress resilient. And that is what led me to burnout. And so I'll tell you a quick little story, and then I'm going to jump off of here. Is in 2013, I got burned out in my corporate position, and I was struggling in my marriage at the time. And so it was this perfect storm in my professional and personal life. I also was a mom, had a young daughter at the time. And I was struggling with depression, anxiety, and insomnia. And at the time, I wasn't quite sure yet that underlying all of that is that I was not living a purpose-driven life. Okay. I was not using the gifts that God had given me. And I ended up going to therapy because I actually ended up having a little bit of a mini breakdown, actually. I call it my story burnout to breakdown to breakthrough. And my therapist was the one that recommended yoga. And that's what started my yoga journey. And I was in this, I'll say, desperate place of struggle where they were wanting to prescribe me medication for anxiety and depression. And nothing against medication. Anyone who's taking medication, no judgment here. I'm just sharing my personal journey that I have never been able to use medication. All the ones that I've ever tried have not worked well for me. I have taken, been on sleeping pills short periods of time and I was not able to sleep. And this particular time in my life, I was on sleeping pills for the first time because I could not sleep. I was waking up 3 to 4 times a night. And so I had to take sleeping pills. And so when I started doing yoga and meditation and breath work, and when I started going on this journey of deeper healing, of doing generational trauma healing and childhood trauma healing and somatic healing, where I was actually releasing this stuff out of my body, y'all, because you can't just talk your way out of healing, okay? I'm here to tell you, talk therapy, yes, it is valuable. And I am not here to say that talk therapy is not valuable as part of somebody's healing journey. However, in order to fully heal mind, body, and spirit, there is other deeper layers that has to happen. And this is not woo-woo stuff. This is science-based, y'all. This is neuroscience-based. The trauma sits in the body and it will cause, I'm getting goosebumps talking about this, y'all. I'm surprised I'm not getting emotional because I'm so passionate about this, because it will cause depression. It will cause anxiety. It can cause insomnia. It can cause other mental health challenges. It can cause disease in the body. It can cause pain in the body. It can cause autoimmune disease, which is what I have, if you do not heal that trauma at a physical level. And then there's also the spiritual level where the heart has to be healed as well. And that's at an even deeper level, that if you are interested in going deeper like that, I'm here to support you in that as well. I do want to mention that you can be part of our group program, but I also have a few spots open to work with people one-on-one. And I literally only have 2 spots open. So if you are needing that deeper healing and you're curious to explore working with me, again, set up a 30-minute call. That's the next step for us to work together. And so I just wanted to share a little bit of my story to know that I am teaching these things from personal experience, from my own healing journey. And I don't teach anything that I have not done myself. Okay. So I am here literally holding your hand. And I'm also giving you access to some of the therapists I've worked with, some of the wellness coaches I've worked with, functional medicine doctors. You get access to other experts, right? So I give you access to a whole 10-year of healing journey that I've done and all the research that I've done on healing myself. And the last thing I'm going to say is that this is super important for longevity, for your mental, emotional, and spiritual and emotional health. And I have actually reversed, you can actually reverse stress damage and reverse trauma damage through the things that we teach you in the program, through the somatic W.I.S.E method that we take you through and that we teach, that can be added to your life skills and the things that you go to on a weekly or monthly or daily basis to release what you need to release. Because we're continually processing emotions, we're continually processing interactions with other people. That goes on for the rest of our life. And so I can tell you, you all, I would be a hot mess right now. Like, people oftentimes think I'm 15 years younger than what I actually am. And I equate that a lot to this work that I've done on myself and that I teach. And that if I wouldn't have physically released these things out of my body, I would look and feel a lot differently than what I do. And I say this because if I can do it, you can do it. The things that I have done with myself, you can do as well. And you can reverse that stress damage. You can reverse that trauma damage. And you can look younger and you can live longer. And that is important for me to say, because at the core of the Wise Mind Education Company and of the WISE method is wellness. And if we are in a wellness, a healthy state of mind, if we are in a good place spiritually and physically, and we have released the things that don't serve us, then we are able to live more in peace, in joy, in love, right? In patience and compassion. We have more to give other people. We have more to give as a mom. We have more to give as a business owner. We have more to give as a professional. We have more to give as a wife or as a potential future wife, for those of you that are single like me, okay? You have to do that deeper healing within yourself. For those of you that are believers and believe in God, you can show up as a better believer when you have these skills and you've done this deeper healing. And I'm not here to say that prayer is not important, because prayer is at the top of the priority list. But we are teaching you other ways for you to be able to process difficult emotions, and that it's okay to have the feelings that you have, even as a believer or non-believer, either way. So it's important for me to share about that too, because I feel like a lot of them struggle with emotions and not doing this deeper healing because they think all I have to do is pray. There's more to healing than prayer, okay? But it's important. It is very important. I'm not minimizing. Please let me say that. I'm by no means minimizing prayer. Okay, y'all. So I am sending you so much love, light, and blessing. Please do put #replay in the group if you watch the replay. Please let us know what is the inner critic that you struggle with the most. Is it perfectionism? And if it is perfectionism, I want you to tell me on a scale of 1 to 10, how loud is your perfectionist, or imposter syndrome, or workaholic taskmaster, or people pleaser, or comparisonitis, comparing yourself to other women. Tell me how loud that is for you on a scale of 1 to 10, or is it off the chart? For some people, they'll say it's a 20. It's higher. But I would say on average, people say between like 8 and 10 or off the chart. So if that is how you're feeling, you're not alone. All right? Okay, y'all. Again, sending you so much love and light. I'm really getting off of this live, and I cannot wait to support you all. I cannot wait to see the cohort that is going to join. I have been praying for you all, praying for the women from the east to the west of who are meant to join together in this Soul Sister community, because we are about community and we are about supporting each other. And it's really, really hard to do this work by yourself. Okay, that's not to say you can't do it by yourself, but one, it's going to take a lot longer. It's going to take years rather than months. You can go buy a book, but again, it's not the same thing as doing it with a mentor and in a group. And I'm, again, speaking from personal experience, because I've been part of group mentors. I've done one-on-one mentoring with someone's mentored me for years. So again, I'm speaking from experience. You need a mentor, or you need to be in a group, okay? And that is what we are creating, as a safe space for healing and transformation, and for women to support other women. This is a trauma-informed program, so it's important for me to mention that. If you are looking for a certification or for personal healing, this is a trauma-informed program. And so you will get access to all of those pieces. Okay. All right, y'all. I am sending you so much love, light, and blessing, and we will talk to you all soon. Have a beautiful Saturday.